Hey everyone! Welcome back to Story Hive. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's jump into today's story. My husband couldn't forgive my past mistake because of a 15-year-old videotape. 10 days ago, I discovered that my wife of 6 years was recorded on camera at a friend's bachelorette party along with two male dancers. This event was secretly filmed by another woman at the party using a cell phone. Later, that woman confided in her boyfriend, who happened to know me. Although this guy and I aren't friends, we do share some mutual acquaintances from high school. His girlfriend told him not to reveal the video or share it with anyone, and they kept it hidden all these years. It's important to note that this guy and I have never been on good terms. We've merely crossed paths due to our mutual connections. However, they broke up some time ago, and since then he's been casually showing the video to his friends as a sort of entertaining story. It became a recurring topic at gatherings, meetings, or guys' nights out purely for amusement. Most of the women seen engaging in inappropriate acts in the video were in relationships at the time. I can't help but suspect they might have been mocking me and the other guys, although that might just be my own insecurity talking. As the story had never reached me or any of my close friends, that changed about a month ago when one of our mutual friends had a drink with this guy. The conversation somehow steered toward the story, and he began joking about how his ex-girlfriend had recorded a group of girls going wild at a bachelorette party, including two dancers getting involved with one of the women who happened to be my girlfriend at the time and now my wife. Apparently he had trust issues with his girlfriend back then and kept a close watch on her activities. This led to her involving her friends to demonstrate to her then boyfriend that she was the innocent and virtuous one. According to our mutual friend, during this incident, all the women, including the one with the camera, my girlfriend was the only one who went all in, not just to be jay and flashing. She took on both dancers at the same time in their dressing room while her other friends gave biz and flashed. She was being plowed by both dancers while the other woman secretly recorded. About a month ago, my friend became aware of this situation and felt the urge to confide in me. However, he grappled with this decision because he was well aware of my current happy marriage with her, and he shared a close bond with both of us. He understood the depth of our love for each other, especially considering we have two young daughters together aged 3 and 5. 11 days ago, on a Friday, my friend reached out to me and expressed a desire to discuss something crucial. His tone during the conversation indicated the significance of the matter. I believed it was a substantial issue, possibly related to some challenges he was facing, and he needed someone to talk to. Over the years, our friendship. The following day, we arranged to meet at a bar. I noticed he was already there when I arrived. His anxious demeanor upon my arrival made it apparent that he was preoccupied with something, and I suspected it had to do with me rather than himself. I grew up in a tough neighborhood. I'm a big guy standing at 6'3". I've had a few run-ins with the law in the past, mostly related to my crew activities, which gave me a certain reputation. However, all of that is behind me now. Among my peers, I've always been seen as a natural leader, with many guys looking up to me. During my teenage years, I used to be quite aggressive and got into numerous fistfights, but going to prison a couple of times, getting married, and having kids have transformed me. It's been over 8 years since I last got into any trouble. I'm less aggressive now, more composed and mature, especially since I have 2 kids and a stable job as a union electrician. I have a long history with one of my friends. We go way back to high school. I used to protect him from bullies since he's a year younger than me. Now, at 29 years old and working a decent corporate job, our social circles didn't overlap much. When I took a seat at the bar, I could sense that whatever he had to say was about me, judging from his body language. It made me quite anxious, so I turned to him, asked how he was doing, and inquired about what was bothering him. He replied that what he was about to tell me might seriously affect my relationship with my wife, but that he felt I needed to know. He didn't want me to find out years down the line that he knew something but didn't tell me. He felt it would be dishonest to keep this from me, and at this point I thought he should just go ahead and spill the beans. Then he dropped the bombshell. A few weeks ago, while hanging out with some friends, one of them showed him a video from about 5 years ago. The video depicted my wife involved with two dancers in a dressing room. When I heard this, I couldn't believe it. I was flooded with emotions like anger, confusion, and shame all at once. I had the urge to confront him, thinking it might be some kind of prank, but deep down I knew it was true. I distinctly remembered the day my wife mentioned attending a bachelorette party for one of her friends 5 years ago. Back then, we had been exclusively dating for about 7 months, but hadn't moved in together yet. My girlfriend came from a traditional Irish Catholic family, and she was exceptionally beautiful. I truly love my wife, so my initial reaction was to protect her honor and reputation. In the past, the old me might have even confronted my friend aggressively for bringing this up. Maybe that's why the acquaintance didn't inform me earlier, knowing I had a history of rage. I inquired if my friend had the video, and he claimed it was on his friend's phone. He said he only saw part of it, but I suspected he was lying because usually people don't watch just part of something like that. However, that detail doesn't matter at this point. I realized my friend wouldn't bring me here just to play a cruel joke about my wife's affair, so I asked him how I could contact the guy with the video, and my friend said he could arrange something. I inquired if I could have the guy's phone number, and my friend stepped outside to make a call. We went outside together, and upon returning, he told me the guy wasn't answering but had sent a text. My friend assured me he'd keep me updated once he heard back. I initially wanted to leave the bar and immediately call my wife, but my friend advised me to take some time to think things through before doing anything rash. So I decided to stay at the bar and talk to my friend about my relationship with my wife, which had been great up to that point. I never expected her to be involved in something like this. During the first year of our dating, she did show a bit of a wild streak, but I didn't realize how wild it was until now. After that first year, it seemed like she had turned her life around, leaving that party phase behind. However, she does change when she drinks. When we started dating, she was still in that party phase, but that's no excuse because we were in a committed relationship when she attended that bachelorette party. Our relationship, her issues with alcohol were a problem at one point, but she got it under control mainly because of our first daughter. While I was talking to my friend, he received a text from the guy and said he could share his number with me. I immediately called him and asked if we could meet so he could give me the video on a flash drive. He told me he was out of town and would return next week. I expressed my interest in obtaining a copy of the video and inquired about how much he wanted in exchange for deleting it from his phone or any other storage. I hoped he'd agree to delete it willingly, but he asked for $11,500. This was one of the reasons I never liked him. I managed to negotiate it down to $11,000. There seemed to be no reason for him to hold on to this video. My wife and his ex-girlfriend were no longer friends, and his ex-girlfriend likely wouldn't hold it against him. I think he was just being a jerk. However, I was glad he asked for money because it allowed us to create a legal agreement preventing him from releasing the video to the public, leaving me as the sole owner of the only copy. My aim was not only to protect my wife, but also my daughters and myself from further embarrassment. The thought of a tape of my wife circulating on the internet would be a significant embarrassment for my family. I wanted to control the situation as much as possible before dealing with my wife later. From what I've heard, the video is too explicit to even contemplate. That night I was too intoxicated to drive, so I had to take a lift home and leave my car in the bar's parking lot. When I got home, I could barely walk through the door. All I remember is calling my wife at 4:03 a.m. and passing out. I wanted to confront her that night, but I was too intoxicated to handle it. The next morning, I woke up with a hangover on my couch wrapped in a blanket. My wife was supposed to go to work that day, as far as I can recall, but she was still in bed when I woke up. I decided it was best to wait before bringing up the issue with her. The next day, I felt a bit more composed and tried to clear my head. I knew I needed to address the situation carefully, but I was still unsure how to approach it. I spent the day trying to get my thoughts in order and considering my options. I realized I needed to confront my wife with as much clarity and calmness as possible. The last thing I wanted was to escalate the situation or make any rash decisions that could damage our relationship further. In the meantime, I kept thinking about the video and what it could mean for us. It wasn't just about the content, but also about how it might affect my trust in her and our future together. The more I thought about it, the more I felt the weight of the situation pressing down on me. The following day, I managed to arrange a meeting with the guy who had the video. We met at a neutral location, and I brought the agreed upon amount of money. The exchange went smoothly, and he handed over the flash drive containing the video. He reiterated that I was the sole owner now, and he agreed not to share it further. I felt a sense of relief, knowing I had control over the situation, but I was also burdened by the knowledge of what was on that drive. With the video in hand, I prepared myself for the conversation with my wife. I wanted to approach it with honesty and openness without letting my emotions cloud my judgment. I knew this conversation would be difficult, but it was necessary to address the issues and determine the next steps for our relationship. That evening, after the kids had gone to bed, I sat down with her and told her we needed to talk. I took a deep breath and started by expressing how much I valued our relationship. I then explained that I had come across something unsettling and I needed her to be honest with me. I showed her the flash drive and told her about the video, trying to keep my voice steady. I asked her to explain what had happened and how she felt about it now. I wanted to give her a chance to speak freely and to understand her perspective before making any decisions. As she began to speak, I listened carefully, trying to absorb everything she had to say. I knew that whatever her response was, it would be crucial for us to work through this together if we were to move forward. I hoped that through this conversation, we could find a way to rebuild trust and address any underlying issues that had surfaced. In the end, I knew that the path forward would require both of us to be honest, open, and committed to resolving the situation. It was a challenging moment, but I was determined to face it head on, no matter how difficult it might be. As she began to speak, I could see the stress and vulnerability in her eyes. She took a deep breath and started explaining. She admitted to having made mistakes, but she also talked about how she felt trapped and confused about where our relationship was heading. Her voice was shaky, but she seemed sincere. She explained that the video was from a period when she felt incredibly disconnected from me and was struggling with her own issues. She mentioned that it was clear she was deeply remorseful and had been carrying a heavy burden of guilt. While her explanation didn't erase what had happened, it did provide some context. She spoke about her regrets and her desire to make things right. She also expressed a strong willingness to work through our issues together and to rebuild the trust that had been broken. I listened as she talked, trying to process everything she was saying. It was a lot to take in, and I found myself torn between my hurt feelings and my desire to understand her perspective. I knew that if we were to move forward, it would require both of us to put in a lot of effort. After she finished, I took a moment to gather my thoughts. I told her that I appreciated her honesty and that it was important for us to address these issues openly. I acknowledged that rebuilding trust would take time and that we both had to be committed to the process. We decided to seek couples therapy to help us navigate this difficult period. It was clear that professional guidance would be beneficial in addressing the underlying issues and in helping us communicate more effectively. In the weeks that followed, we began attending therapy sessions together. It was challenging, but it also provided a structured environment where we could openly discuss our feelings and work on our relationship. We both made an effort to be honest and to understand each other better. It was a slow and painful journey, but we started to see some positive changes. Our communication improved, and we began to rebuild some of the trust that had been damaged. We both knew that it was a long road ahead, but we were committed to working through it together. The experience was a turning point in our relationship. It forced us to confront difficult truths and to work on our individual and collective growth. While we couldn't undo the past, we were determined to build a stronger and more honest future. As time went on, we found new ways to connect and support each other. The process was far from perfect, and there were still challenges along the way, but we both learned a lot about ourselves and each other. It wasn't easy, but it was a journey that ultimately brought us closer together in many ways. Looking back, I realized that the experience, while painful, was an opportunity for growth and for deepening our understanding of one another. It taught us both valuable lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the importance of facing difficulties head-on. Thanks for tuning in to today's Reddit story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on more amazing stories. See you next time.